They moved into a converted schoolhouse. First, there was the ghost baby, presented by Absolutely Haunted in America. Hello, welcome, hope you enjoy the video.
When people ask why my parents suddenly moved in with me, I usually laugh, because the truth is so disturbing. It doesn't sound real, but it is. And I saw the beginning of it with my own eyes. After my youngest sibling left home 2 years ago, my parents were finally ready to downsize. They had spent their lives working, raising 5 kids in a beautiful 4,200 square foot home in the suburbs, a house with a pool, a massive yard, and the kind of warmth that wrapped around you like a well-worn quilt. We all expected they'd grow old there, but they surprised us. They sold it. They found a condo in a nearby town, something smaller and easier to manage. It was part of an old schoolhouse, completely gutted and converted into 4 upscale units. My mom was enchanted. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. All knew everything. My dad was thrilled the HOA took care of the yard work. It sounded perfect. The place looked perfect, too. My siblings and I helped them move in. It had high ceilings, polished wood floors, and a screened-in porch where my dad joked he'd spend every morning of the rest of his life sipping coffee. I took a week off work to help them unpack. My parents insisted I stay in one of the guest rooms. That's how I saw the first thing. That's how I knew. This condo was wrong. We had been unpacking boxes all day, arranging furniture, trying to turn this eerie, echoing space into something like a home. Too tired to cook, we ordered pizza and sat at the kitchen counter on bar stools.
Pizza delivery.
My mom went to shower. My dad and I cracked open beers and headed to the screened porch, laughing about old times. That laughter ended when my mom screamed. A high, raw sound tore through the condo. We jumped to our feet. My mom burst through the hallway door, wearing only a towel, her face pale and twisted in terror. She was shaking, hyperventilating, her voice shredded as she tried to speak. My dad grabbed her shoulders. "Donna, what happened?" She looked at both of us, eyes wide and unfocused. Didn't you hear it?" "Hear what?" I asked. "The crying," she whispered. "A baby." I got out of the shower and I was walking into the bedroom when I saw it, floating in the center of the room. It was wrapped in a baby blanket. There was this horrible red light around it, and fog, like smoke. It was crying. And then it just disappeared. My dad's face twisted in worry, but his voice stayed calm. "Honey, maybe you were just tired. Maybe you dozed off, and I didn't fall asleep, Phil," she snapped, her voice rising. "I had just gotten out of the bathroom. I was wide awake." Okay, just get dressed and we'll talk about it." "I'm not going back in there alone," she yelled. "I'll go with you, Mom," I said quickly. We walked down the hallway together, and as soon as I crossed the threshold into her bedroom, I felt it. The air was wrong. Icy cold, maybe 20 degrees colder than the rest of the condo. It wrapped around us like a shroud. I said nothing, but the hair on the back of my neck stood straight up. My mom dressed quickly, her hands trembling, while I scanned the room. But there was nothing there. That night, we tried to distract ourselves with a movie, but the shadows in the corners felt too dark, too still. I remember praying that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, my dad experienced something worse. He's always been an early riser, the kind of guy who wakes up at 6 out of habit. He stepped out of the bedroom to head to the kitchen, only to freeze. At the end of the hallway, in the gray light of dawn, a figure crouched. It was a woman facing away from him. She was pale, her back arched, her arms wrapped around her knees, her dress old and tattered, like something out of another century. Her hair hung down in matted ropes, clotted with dirt. She rocked back and forth, making a low, wet sound, crying. Dad said she looked true, solid, real. For a second, he thought someone had broken in. He stepped closer. She didn't move. He reached out, his hand hovering inches from her shoulder. When she turned, her face was a nightmare. Where her eyes should have been were empty sockets, gaping and black. Her mouth hung open wide, but there was no tongue, just a stump. Blood gurgling from it, dribbling onto the floor. Then she was gone, vanished, just air. My dad fell backward, hitting the floor hard. It took him minutes to even get up. "Why didn't you wake me up?" I asked him later. He looked at me with tired, haunted eyes. "What would have been the point? I didn't want you to see that." He was right, because a few days later I saw something just as bad. All week we'd heard odd things. Footsteps, a scream when I walked through the front door, another when we were just sitting in the living room, chatting quietly, only for the walls to suddenly echo with a scream so full of agony, it made us all sit bolt upright. But Friday? Friday was the worst. I was getting ready to leave, packing for my flight, showered, dressed, brushing my teeth, and that's when I stepped out of the bathroom. The world twisted. There was blood, a thick, sticky pool of it on the tile floor, dark and smeared. My eyes followed the drag marks, thin trails that led across the bathroom and under the bedroom door. I stood frozen, unable to breathe. And then the walls began to shake. A roar filled the room, loud and low, like the earth itself was growling. Cabinets rattled. My reflection blurred in the mirror. And then the baby, floating right in front of me. Its mouth was open in a silent scream, its skin blue-gray. The same crimson glow lit the air around it. And as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. Gone. All of it. The blood, the baby, the shaking. I dropped to my knees and sobbed. That's how my mom found me. Crying on the cold bathroom floor like a child. My parents packed my things and drove me straight to the airport. I swore I would never go back. I meant it. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. It was my mom. "Can we come visit you?" she asked, her voice too calm. "What happened?" I asked her. "I'll tell you when we get there." They arrived with 2 small bags and weary faces. They never left. They had tried to stay, but the condo had changed. The cries came more often. Then came voices. Muffled arguments between a man and a woman, echoing through the rooms, always just out of reach. The woman sounded desperate. The man was furious. They chased the voices from room to room, but never found the source. The other 3 condos were still vacant. Then my dad saw the baby again, this time in the laundry room. Floating, crying, disappearing. They spent their final night in a hotel, terrified. They spoke softly, afraid the condo might hear them. They decided then and there to leave it behind. The next morning, they went back just to get clothes. They entered cautiously, hearts pounding. The condo was silent. They moved quickly, grabbing suitcases, stuffing clothes in. And then my mom stopped cold. She was being watched. My dad turned to see her face twist in horror. He spun around, and there they were. Them. The eyeless woman stood at the foot of the bed. Beside her, the man. He wasn't just angry. He looked like evil made flesh, cold, grim, hollow-eyed. The floating baby hovered nearby, wailing. Then, without warning, the man reached out and stabbed the woman in the eyes. She screamed. My parents ran. They left the suitcases, left the clothes, left everything. My siblings retrieved the luggage weeks later. My parents never went back, and neither will I.
We want to thank you for watching our video and remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. If you've made it this far, why not watch another one of our videos or check out our playlist? You won't be sorry, as all our stories are original and collected privately for years. You won't find them anywhere else. Thanks for